A lot of stuff has happened over the weekend. E-commerce siasa mingi hapa na pale and all, and we'd like to just get down into it. That's why we're joined by Fanya Mambo Kinuthia. He's been here many times before. He's a lawyer. He's a political activist. He has participated in elections before, as an aspirant. Good morning, Fanya Mambo.
Good morning to you.
Karibu sana.
Asante sana.
City has the day's proverb. This week, the proverbs are from
the Republic of Gambia.
All right. Mm-hmm. And you told us the capital is?
It's Banjul.
Banjul. And the president is?
The president of the country is called Adama Barrow.
Adama Barrow. Okay.
That's his name.
All right.
He has a vice president.
One.
Just one.
Okay.
It's called Mohammed B.S. Jallow.
Mohammed B.S. Jallow.
Then he has a Speaker of the National Assembly who's called Fabakary Jatta. Then now he has a Chief Justice. This name is interesting, called Hassan Bubakar Jallow. So I asked, man, this Jallow name. That one, yes. We have
it's a common
in this
name.
Country which are common. Yes.
Like Kinuthia.
Like Kinuthia. I was thinking Kamau.
Okay, the proverb?
The proverb. Never mind how ugly your nose is, so long as you can breathe through it.
Never mind how ugly your nose is, so long as you can breathe through it. Right. Kinuthia, what's your interpretation of this?
I think for some of the critical things in this life, it's about functionality rather than their aesthetics. If it functions, if it serves its purpose. I mean, there are many other parts of our bodies that don't look really good, but they serve a very important function. And if they closed up, then we'd have problems. So it's the same thing with the nose. It's closed for 2 minutes, you don't have oxygen, you're dead. In life, I think sometimes it's not always about how good you look or how good something looks. It's about it performing its function. But it's coming from the Gambia, where I think we have a problem of buying 100 SUVs for people who are coming for a one-day event and then they go away. And each was like $150,000. That was crazy. So it was, if it is them, then we are deeply worried about getting proverbs from them.
You forget.
Somehow you seem to assume the proverb also cost money.
I love that.
Fanya Mambo, a lot of stuff is happening right now politically in the country.
Yes.
And there are those who are wondering, what are we seeing? Are we seeing what we ought to be seeing, or are these smokes and mirrors that we are looking at? Look at the headline, for example, in the Standard today. Gachagua in yet another thief of a military helicopter. So he did not attend the Bungoma national celebrations aboard a military helicopter, as we have gotten used to seeing a deputy president doing, because he had not applied for one. Halika assume, boss.
Do you know who I am?
Boss. You had not. Then we see the deputy president himself now for the weekend coming out and speaking yesterday in Laikipia, where he's saying there's a direct attack on our people and an attempt to divide our people, and we should not accept to see other people being used to come and be the ones who are dividing our people. What's happening? What's going on?
Number one, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua is the Deputy President to William Ruto that William Ruto was to Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. I remember Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta complaining about his deputy and telling his deputy, usifanye tanga-tanga. And his deputy would do the opposite. Telling his deputy, let's go this direction, a BBI, and the deputy would do the opposite. I think Kama is that thing they say it is. And so it's coming back, and we are in a very interesting place because now the president is getting the deputy who he was to Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. And I think he should just take lessons from Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta and just learn how Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta handled him when he was deputy. Is the same way he'll handle his deputy, because now there is a child born who has learned from Ruto School of Politics and how to be a good deputy. And he took his lessons from his boss, and now he's implementing his lessons that he learned when his boss was deputy. Remember...
What has Rigathi done that you can say he's doing this?
Nothing bad. All the good things that the president did when he was deputy are the good things that Deputy Rigathi Gachagua is doing.
For example?
When President, for example, Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, when President Ruto was the deputy, he aligned himself with some MPs. And he went around Mount Kenya campaigning for his 2022 presidential bid. Rigathi Gachagua has aligned himself, and apparently he's also campaigning in Mount Kenya, I don't know why, and seeking the sympathies and love and hope of Mount Kenya. So he's just doing what his boss did, only that he's doing it during the first term. I think he's a quick learner and he's a quick implementer of lessons. So he's doing it during the first term, but he's doing exactly what his boss did. Yeah. And him not getting a jet, this is a symptom of a problem. You know, sometimes when we have typhoid, we keep getting tablets to treat the headache, but the reality is that we have typhoid. So missing the jet is a symptom of a disease. Let's not deal with symptoms. The real disease is that these people are not together. They are not agreeing on anything. And this just begun. The gloves will be off soon.
If not yet.
Not yet. They are not yet out. When they come out, we will know.
Okay.
Yeah, it will be so clear.
When the deputy president then goes back to Mount Kenya and says, we are being divided, we need to come together. In fact, I really sincerely apologize to Uhuru for, what I said and did about him. And we now need to work together. Do you think his words are landing on soft ground?
To start with, some of us would have wanted to refuse to listen to him and would have wanted to refuse to forgive him. But the Kikuyus have a saying, yani, you're beating someone as you draw them back towards home. When you have one of your own, even your own child, you don't take an axe and beat him with an axe. You look for a whip and then you whip them, but as you whip them, you're still bringing them back towards home. Mount Kenya does not want to lose one of its own. We may not have agreed on a few things, but we are beating him as we return him back home. We are not beating him as we expel him away from home. He's one of us, and we will forgive him because he's one of us at the right time, but we shall bring him back home because he's one of us. The only condition that has been given to him by us and the entire Mount Kenya region is that if Mount Kenya is going to unite under him, it is not to unite under him so that he can deliver us back to William Ruto, because that's where now the point of departure will be. If he takes Mount Kenya back to William Ruto, he will go on his own and he'll be surprised at the ballot. So he just better needs to know that if he's ready to unite Mount Kenya, he better be willing to unite them behind himself or another king, hata kama ni Kalonzo Natembea, whoever, or himself or even Munya or somebody else to go for the presidency. But we are not backing him up and supporting him so that he can take us back to William.
Take us back? Are you saying the Mount Kenya has left William Ruto?
Yeah. Not has. They left a long time ago. And
Mount Kenya has left William Ruto.
My friend, let me ask you a question. Right now, there's a lot of demolitions happening in Nairobi. I don't know whether you've noticed that rivers are only in Mathare, Korogosho, and areas where, unfortunately, when the destruction happens, all those people tend to speak a language from Mount Kenya. There are no people living on rivers in Kibra. There are no people living on rivers in Kangemi. There are no people living on rivers in places where the Mount Kenya language is not spoken. And so demolitions are not happening there. There is a calculated, and we are thinking, why are we trying to reduce the population of Mount Kenya in Nairobi? Because I haven't seen a river in Kibra where people have built on that river. I haven't seen a river in Kangemi or in other places where the Kikuyu language is not spoken, where people have been evicted from. So, and that is a problem. That's why you're seeing Akuya making noise. That's why you're seeing the deputy president making noise.
Let me ask you a question. Let's just go back.
Yes.
River.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
It existed. Okay?
Yes.
There's a word I keep hearing, riparian land.
Yes.
Okay?
Yeah.
I am told we're not allowed to build there, irrespective of whether it is River Njoro, it is River Madare or River Korogosho, whatever that river is.
You're not supposed to build there.
Well, you're not supposed to build there.
Yeah.
And then some people build there, okay? And you say, if I'm to go by your word, there are people who speak a similar language. Okay, why don't we go back a little bit and ask ourselves a fundamental question? These people who speak a similar language, are they also the people who are perhaps the most populous in the country? Are they also the people whose rural areas are nearest to the city of Nairobi? Are they also people who are always considered to be some of the most enterprising people in the country, people who will see opportunities where others are sitting back and staring at the opportunity and doing nothing about it? Now, so by the time we look at this background, before the floods, they were still living there. It is the floods that have brought up this issue. And the issue wouldn't be a big issue if people are not dying. People are dying, and so the question of, they live here. But the question is, how did they get to live there in the first place? They were not supposed to have been there. Who allowed it? Because they had to be allowed.
I don't think the problem is that from where I sit. The problem is...
I'm actually not calling it a problem. I'm giving it a background. And I'm saying that what you're saying emanates from the background that I am actually pointing out to you.
That someone allowed them to come here.
Yes. Yes, and I'm saying...
And was that someone also being selective in that only the people who speak this certain tribe are the ones who are going to be
No, it may not be so. It may be that these people who are perhaps more enterprising and understood the opportunities better than the others. They understood the rules of the game better. I'm simply saying this. I'm not denying that what you're saying may not be true. That's not what I'm saying. What you're saying has been known to be done before. So it cannot be that if you say that it is what is being done, that it is not true. That is not what I'm saying. I'm actually even not going there. I'm simply saying that if you want to look at a situation for what it is, what you're telling us is just one perspective. That really is what I'm saying. It is not the only perspective. It is one perspective. Yes.
Awesome. I agree with you to the extent that it is one perspective. All I am trying to say is I wish I could take you to specific places in Kileleshwa where certain petrol stations had been brought down and now they've been brought now properly on top of the river, not even the 30 meters. What Kenyans have a problem with is the selective demolition.
I know the place.
Yeah, you know the place also.
I know the place very well.
The selective demolition is what is a problem. Because if this demolition was not selective, if it was happening in Kileleshwa, in Lavington, in every other place within Nairobi where something has been built on a river, then it would be seen to be sensible. Then the other question is this: the floods had just come to an end. Why do you want to destroy somebody's house at 5 p.m. in the evening and leave them to sleep outside in the cold and the floods have just come to an end? This administration went around this country saying how they had given jobs to 120,000 youth. Have we forgotten? And those 120,000 youth had built 200,000 houses. The clips are available. Oh, they were on land cruisers. They told us how 200,000 had been built, 200,000 houses had been built. They told us how 120,000 jobs had been created in the process. Now we are begging. Only 5,000 people needs houses. Can we take the 5,000 out of the 200,000 and give to these displaced people? Because these houses were built on taxpayers' land. They were built using taxpayers' money. So we just come and say there's affordable housing. The administration has already pronounced itself and declared a number, 200,000. Sasa mbona hatupati 5,000 kwa hii 200,000? We first house these ones, and then after that, we can remove them once we get an alternative place for them. Did they get the 10,000 that they were promised as well?
It's mathematics.
And it's a fair point you make.
So, are you saying that that's the reason why Kikuyus left Ruto?
No. Many other reasons. And the other one is KRA.
What does that mean?
Look at this taxation and what is happening. And I challenge every Kenyan to go to other parts of this country and see whether there are disputes between KRA and those people. The people of Mount Kenya are complaining every day. These tax agents are brought to your place like, I don't know, musketeers, and they make life impossible for you. You're not able to do business. They come and give you...
Are you talking about the group of people who were created specifically we are told to conduct public participation so that people could understand issues of tax?
No.
The ones who have a uniform.
Yes, and they are brought by buses to the market, and anytime they come to the place and everybody closes their shop, because these people will give you tax problems dating back 3 years.
And they're only going to Mount Kenya?
Yes, they are. For now, we are yet to see complaints from other places. If they were going in other places, okay, let's just say this. There's only complaints from Mount Kenya. We haven't
Why?
seen other people complaining that these people have come to their shops.
Why?
Because these people haven't come.
Is there
If they had come,
is there more tax evasion in Mount Kenya?
do you think you would do such things in Kisumu and get away? Do you think that you would pour that bus in Kisumu, go around like that, and by evening there's no demonstration? What we are saying is the reason the other places have not revolted is because they have not experienced it.
Yeah, come
If they had experienced it, they would be revolting.
Come on, Fanya Mambo.
My friend, I'm telling you the truth.
No. This is an assumption. It's not a fact. That
No,
you're stating.
let me tell you.
It's not
That's one. Now, let's go to the finance bill again.
Okay.
That's another thing that for us now is a pain. And I know I was talking to someone the other day. I was telling them, I like the way Kenyans are treated to a dangling carrot. Now there is this 10 bob on bread that I believe was put there deliberately.
There's 10 bob on bread.
Yes, the extra. You know, there'll be extra taxation on bread, and it's going to amount to 10 shillings.
So the bread was what price and now it's what again?
It's going to be 10 plus. You know, it depends on which bread you take. But whatever bread you take, you know, some take it brown, some take it. I don't even know there's unleavened. Others use it for
Yes, there's olive bread, there's whole wheat.
So, but
there are all sorts of-
the kawaida one that costs the Kenyan about 55 shillings will go to about 65. And I knew that had been put there specifically so that Kenyans can complain about it. In fact, the first people to hype it were people from this same administration when they were saying bread causes diabetes. And I thought that was genius. Now,
But it doesn't.
but they told us, but
It doesn't.
you see, this is this when several people meet up.
So because
and,
of bread, Mount Kenya people have left Ruto.
no, because of that bread. This is what I'm
I
coming
want to
to.
stick to this one.
You see, we are looking at the finance bill. And what will happen, this is being waited for. Just when it's about to be passed, they'll come in Land Cruisers the way we know them, Kenya Kwanza, and sit on top and say, hii mkate ndio imeleta shida, hii ndio inawasumbua, tukitoa hiyo finance bill iko sawa, ndio. And they'll remove the 10 shillings on the bread. But they are forgetting something has been hidden in there. And one of them is that cooking oil. And I want you to read the finance bill. Cooking oil is going to be increased by 130 shillings per litre. 130 shillings per litre. What that in effect will mean for those people who are in the mutaa, chips muitu will become more expensive. Mandazi will become more expensive. Ile chapati inapikwa kwa mtaa will become more expensive. Even the bread itself, because there is no baking without cooking oil, will become more expensive. So these are some of the things. It's a very simple optic. Make bread, hype it, and then come and say, we have removed the problem. You said you don't want tax on bread, and people will clap, but hide
Fanya Mambo.
130 shillings.
I think you're
into-
mixing very many issues.
No.
I think so.
What am I mixing?
Mount Kenya people have left Ruto because of finance bill
No,
proposal
start from
on
the
bread.
beginning.
I'll-
Because of
People-
demolitions in
That is
Mathare.
demolitions.
Yes.
Number two, the finance bill is targeting ourselves. And I've told you,
Because of
when you see
KRA
exemptions, that's KRA. When you read the part on exemptions, that a vehicle carrying sugarcane will be exempt from road levy. Where does sugarcane come from? Why not a vehicle carrying avocado? Why not a vehicle carrying tea and coffee and milk and macadamia and all the things that come from Mount Kenya? Those ones are not exempt. But a vehicle carrying sugarcane, which we don't have, I wish we did, that one is exempt from road levy. So we are seeing all these things and we can see from where we are. Look, hata sitaki kuongea mambo ya Muga, I know we'll come to that.
Well, while you are at it, this basket has many things. Throw Muguka in. Just for good measure. I see no reason why we should leave Muguka out.
But are they isolated? Are they unique to Mount Kenya, all these measures?
To a great extent, yes.
I mean, and when I listen to this, I remember 3 years ago, the same Mount Kenya complaining about the same things and saying our man Uhuru is causing us this and that's why we're going to Ruto. Am I wrong?
Remember the issue of the containers?
Yeah.
Talking
Remember
about
the people who are supposed to be from Kirinyaga Road and what have you, and
I am happy they are demonstrating.
Kirinyaga Road, people are complaining that Uhuru has done this to them. The milk and coffee farmers are complaining. The tea farmers are complaining. They wanted minimum guaranteed returns because Uhuru has completely obliterated their market.
And taken the whole milk sector to himself. Yeah.
Sijui what business has gone where. There's so much development that's happening in Nyanza. What happened to us? Same Mount Kenya were complaining about tax by government and saying that this government is overtaxing us, and that's why we are abandoning Uhuru, going to Ruto. Now you're saying the same people are saying the taxes are too much, we are abandoning Ruto.
Let me remind you something.
So the common denominator here is
48% of Mount Kenya did not vote. You remember there are 8 million Kenyans who didn't vote. It's about 52% of Mount Kenya that voted. 48% did not vote. Because this 48% first did not believe that any of those two candidates would have made a good president for Kenya. That's why they did not vote, by the way.
They told you this?
Yes. They stayed at home. I mean, you abstain. They stayed at home.
That's saying something.
Yes.
It's a message.
Now, this 52% who voted were what many Kenyans have given an interesting name, because they gave us voters who really looked like, members of parliament who really looked like them. And that's why sometimes they come and say crazy things like, someone tells you that bread causes diabetes, but you can understand it's the limitation of the understanding. And so these people gave us such leaders. And now those leaders are the ones who are in charge right now. And they are making all sorts of decisions that look like the 52% that voted for them. And so now it's a good time for us to come, now the 48% who did not vote, to tell this 52% why in the first place they didn't vote for this administration, and why they felt that even this 52% chose for them all the wrong leaders, especially members of parliament.
So what does this all portend? At the end of the day, when we look at the country as a whole, it looks as though they are just, underlying conversations being had, and that the health and well-being of the country is never really considered. When it talks about functioning systems, we're just talking about big personalities in politics and who wants to say what to get on the right side of the ego of the other. Where does the country come in here, if ever it does?
You see, everybody wanted to be able to live a good life. People wanted to be able to buy a white dress for their daughter and a tennis ball for their son if they wanted. But we are in a country where taxation has become way too much, and the spending power of Kenyans has been gravely reduced. And so people are disillusioned, and people feel as though, people had put in a lot of hopes in the elections for those who voted, and they had been told about bottom up, and they had
who voted for those who are now in power.
Yes, and they had been told that a lot of things will change, and those who are poor will become rich. And then there was something called bottom up. I think the wheelbarrow is now upside down, and so on and so forth. So it is the disillusionment right now that is coming from life having become harder as opposed to having become easier that Kenyans are facing. And then the anger now, it becomes even worse when we sit here and we are told, first, do not do ethnic balkanization. And we say it's fine.
What on earth is ethnic balkanization?
That's what they've been telling us, that you should not have Limuru 3, you should not have meetings for Kikuyus only, you should not be having discussions about a particular region.
But how is that balkanization?
When we think about it, balkanization began in government. When you come and see that it is possible for people to sit in the energy sector and speak their mother tongue and understand each other, the top management in the energy sector in this country, then that is ethnic balkanization. When you start employing people from specific regions and giving them all the plum jobs, that is ethnic balkanization. So before you tell us not to do Limuru 3, let us have a conversation about us not having one sector in this country where the top management can speak their mother tongue and understand each other in a board meeting.
Are you aware you are talking about the history of this country in that statement you just made?
That is the history Kenya has been trying to break away from.
How
so
hard
the least
have they
that this
been
government
trying?
should have done is to come away from that history.
How hard have we tried? Because when Kenyatta won, was in power, this you didn't even need to look far to see the balkanization. Kiambu here, it's on the corner. Okay? 7 ministers. Here. Not too far away. Moi came in. What you're saying, we saw it happening. What I'm trying to tell you is this. People who are in power, who are supposed to end what you're saying, never end it. They just talk about it. But if you break this thing down, okay, as you say correctly, you look at a ministry and you see too many people of a certain community. Well, you will find that even now with a different government, that there are certain departments of government, certain parastatals where you'll find certain communities, depending on who the leadership have been, who are in large numbers. It's a situation that we have. But let me just tilt that conversation ever so slightly. You see, what you are saying holds some truth to it. But if it were the deputy president who was president and you had a ministry where there were people who spoke his language, would you be complaining?
We should be complaining. And every other Kenyan has a right to complain, even if the right people don't complain, because this is not the way to govern a country. This is not the way to lead a country. But what's most painful is not even that. It's the wastage of taxpayers' money. When we see the lavish lifestyles that some of these people are living, the kind of cars that they are buying within such a short time, the wristwatches we are seeing, the belts they are buying for hundreds and thousands of shillings. And when we see someone tell us that they took a 200 million shilling jet and then they changed on National Prayer Breakfast and tell us it was 10 million and then say it was a donation. That wastage of public resources. We are paying taxes. We are working so hard to pay taxes for people to waste those taxes. I think that cuts across the country. Whether you are Kikuyu or Kisii or Masai, you're not happy to see the money that you have worked so hard to earn being spent lavishly by people who, and that's not the reason why we were paying taxes in the first place. And if you ask me, someone comes to a National Prayer Breakfast, which I think for me to start with should not have happened. And then the reason I say it should not have happened is when you read the Bible or the Quran, prayer goes with fasting, not feasting. I think they missed the spelling. Prayer goes with fasting, not feasting. So I saw people in a 5-star hotel taking a five-course meal, eating gluttonously and saying they are praying for us. And us for whom we are being prayed for were not invited. I mean, every other poor person, Madara is just across the road. The people who had been left homeless are watching that they can't fix a meal. And the people who put them in that problem are there eating a 5-course meal in a 5-star hotel. That was a big mistake. So that National Prayer Breakfast should not have happened in the shape and form it happened. During campaigns, these people are going to churches and kneeling before bishops to be prayed for. You mean our parliament could not have fit in one of those churches, but they've already disparaged some of the bishops. Bishop Margaret Wanjiru had turned her church into a UDA headquarters, even branded the altar. I think some of these prayers would have been done in some of these places. And it is true, because they are all there. The photos are there. You can see she had branded her altar with all those things. So there has to be a way in which we have to say that it is wrong for you to spend millions of taxpayers' money eating and dining and laughing at Kenyans who are poor and impoverished in the name of prayer breakfast. And then now you decide, okay, Silvano Sosoro is going to lead praise and worship. Adan Duale is going to read the Quran for us. And Kenyans are looking and saying, wait a minute, what is happening to this country? But now, worst of all, we take that podium. And just after prayers, we look at Kenyans in the face and we tell them, my friends gave me money for this jet and it cost 10 million. And the question I ask is, forget even the legal bit, because the law does not allow for someone to receive a gift of more than 20,000 in declare. Now, I like speaking as a Kenyan, not even as a lawyer sometimes. And as a Kenyan, I ask, where were these friends when we could not pay for school feeding program? Where were these friends when we were being taxed for affordable housing? They would have given money. Where were these friends when there was floods and we needed money to host our people? Where were these friends when we had absolutely no money to pay our doctors? Where were these friends when we had no money for capitation for schools? But we have them. Unajua kufaya kwa dhiki ndio rafiki. But now when you have Faraja and you are going to the US, suddenly these friends appear and they have 10 million to give you. I think those are the wrong friends that Kenya does not meet, and we need to know what their names are so that we declare them public enemies. Friends of this country are people who should have given us money for school feeding. They should have given us money for doctors when doctors were on strike and our people were dying in hospitals. And people just think it's a doctor strike. We lost so many Kenyans during that period. You come, you can't get attention, and you die. So where were these friends?
We should dictate what our friends give us.
No, what you are saying is we don't need such friends.
If somebody...
the kind of friend who buys you a beer on Friday but cannot buy you a packet of Vunga,
you've been told it's
lose that friend.
But it's the government of the UAE. Are you saying that the government of the UAE has not donated anything to this country?
Whoever that friend is, they have become the kind of friend who will buy you 5 beers but cannot give you a packet of rice to take home to your wife and children.
And they have donated other things and other causes in this country.
Which ones? I have always asked Kenyans.
So you just go and find out.
No. I've always asked Kenyans, and because now it's on the backdrop of that trip, I have seen roads you can say this has a Chinese name to it. I have seen so many pieces of infrastructure that have a Chinese name to it. Our good friends, the Americans, the one thing I have seen is feeding of refugees. Kenyans are yet to see a road, and the 481 kilometers was promised to Kibaki anyway. It was promised to Uhuru anyway. Has been promised to. This trip was about Haiti, and once we are done with Haiti,
Kenyans are yet to see a road.
Yeah?
Kenyans are yet to see a road donated by America.
Yes.
But there is an HIV and AIDS program which the US has funded in excess of $8 billion
And it's ongoing
as we speak.
Hold
And
up.
it's not just for HIV, it's also for what?
Blood
Malaria.
donation.
Yes,
malaria.
yes. In opportunistic diseases, meaning it is a donation that takes care of any aspect of healthcare.
My friend.
And they give it to date.
My friend, you know, I am deeply worried about countries that are more concerned about our health than anything else. Because we have seen...
are saying that's it.
There's a reason why I'm saying this.
Did
and I
you
want
just
you to
tell us
understand.
about, don't
Friend
think about
advisor
doctors on
here.
strike.
Right, yes.
Doctors on strike is about our health.
Fund our doctors. Don't give us your vaccines and your medicine. Help us be able to generate our own. There's a reason why I'm saying this. You've seen the campaigns that the Catholic bishops have been having against certain drugs in this country.
It's vaccine.
And vaccines especially for girls, and what that has meant for this country. We appreciate the fact that they are helping us in combating HIV and AIDS. But if you ask us as a country, we would tell you that some of the things you give us today, later once research is done, we regret using them. You have seen what has been
what, for
presented.
instance?
You've seen what has been presented to the president of Uganda, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, about the specific vaccines by our doctor here. Just need to remember his name. We go to the same church. And it's been
Dr.
quite
Wahome.
big. Dr. Wahome, precisely. And Museveni is saying, thank you for immunizing me against these people. So we are careful, and everything we get from the Americans, we take it with a pinch of salt, because eventually we end up regretting having taken those things. Let them give us a road, we won't regret a road.
Like which one?
Anything goes into our body. Right now, you've seen they are trying to come up with digital birth certificates, where something is injected into your body and then you don't need, you're doing told it's a paperless birth certificate. Why do you want to know where our children are, wherever they are roaming on the
Mambo.
globe? Yes, it is.
My
it is-
friend.
I'll get you.
Umeshuka uko kwa floor sasa. Yani.
Yes.
Umeamua now.
Okay. Open season.
So
no,
for
no,
us,
no, no, no,
so
no,
for
no,
us,
no.
we are careful.
No.
We are careful.
Fanya Mambo.
Even as you talk about being careful, be factual.
I am factual, and
If
I'll
you're-
share that
you're
with
factual, If you're factual and say that research has shown, for instance, that the kind of support that the HIV program has received from the American government has led to X disaster or X negative impact, right? Any piece of research that is showing that, then you can say that let's be cautious. If any research you have shows that the government of the UAE has never donated anything towards any particular program in Kenya, not in disaster response, not in famine response, not in education, not in health, not in education, particularly in the northeastern counties. If you've got anything that shows there's nothing else that has come, it's only 10 million shillings for a jet, then you can say, wanakununulia pombe ulewe na hawezi kununulia chakula ushibe.
No, let's get it factually and truly. I mean, the government, and the president did not say it's the government of the UAE. He said it's his friends.
State House spokesperson Hussein Mohammed released a statement and
But
stated
remember,
clearly
the chief government spokesman insulted us on the same.
Immediately after the president went back to State House after the prayer breakfast, Hussein Mohammed released a statement and said it's the government of the UAE.
Hussein Mohammed, you've been a friend of the media for a long time. And if you're listening to me, let me tell you one thing. Please, can you try to put your house in order so that we get only one communication about something? We've had so many twists and turns about this trip. About first that it was cheaper, then it was cheaper than KQ, then it was given by friends, and then it was given by UAE, and then it was 10 million, it was not 200 million. Hussein Mohammed, you're a good friend of this country. The best thing should have been... No.
I'm being sincere.
It's leading towards the
Yes, exactly.
What they
Because
should have done is given only one communication, because by the time even the government spokesman was ranting and insulting Kenyans in such a bad tone, in fact, the way he spoke and he used...
how did the insult come in?
My friend, you need to check out that clip, because I don't even want to say some of the things he said on TV. My mouth, I usually make sure it's very clean. And sometimes
You're talking about Mwaura?
Yes, Mwaura. And he said, tunauliza maswali ya kipuzi. And I thought, when I pay my taxes, when I ask where my taxes are going, that's not a stupid question.
You're entitled to the question.
That is a valid question.
Okay.
And the people who pay Isaac Mwaura are we, the Kenyans. In fact, if we take away that message from his mouth, because we have put it there as Kenyans, he's the chief government spokesperson. But what he carries is the message, not the people. And he needs to know that we are the sovereign.
So he's saying that when we, his employer, are asking questions, we have a right to ask those questions, and he should not stop. He should stop telling us that they are nonsensical.
Can you imagine you telling your boss, your maswali unaniuliza ni ya kipuzi? Because we are his bosses, literally.
I can imagine, but I can also imagine the consequences.
Now, he knew there are no consequences with Kenyans and telling us things
But
like
Fanya Mambo, let me ask you this question. We've touched on very many issues here. And again, it is what we would like and what we would wish.
Yeah.
Are we saying that people who assist this country by virtue of the association they've had with the country for the longest time, that friendship is forced upon us, or is it a friendship that we have chosen?
I think we need to understand one thing. When you read the Constitution, I think 243, I need to confirm, it talks of what is national priorities. And one of the first things that is a national priority to Kenyans is the state security, and then they follow from there. I don't think a state visit to another country was a national priority.
Why?
And I don't think that would have been the best place to first put our money.
By the way, a state visit is you're invited. You don't invite yourself, eh? Just that you understand.
You are invited.
You can
agree.
decline.
You can decline.
I agree.
So you wanted us to decline?
Not decline. I mean, what had happened to Kenya Airways?
Sasa wewe ni nini?
Okay,
so-
bro. Okay, let me answer you.
It's still doing 15 hours to that place.
Yes, it's doing, but let me answer you by asking a question. Do you know how many of our Dreamliners were actually operational at the time the president was supposed to travel? Do you know whether the Kenya Airways fleet, as we know it, was able to even meet, yes, its regular demands, as opposed to putting one plane specifically for the purpose of taking the president to America? I am asking you this question because to answer it, you'd need to ask yourself why KQ may not have been the first choice.
I have an answer. Then we fire Kipchumba Murkomen. He's the Minister for Transport. And if he can't make KQ work, he should resign. It's that simple. I mean, I have not seen other countries.
KQ has been having problems long before Kipchumba Murkomen became Minister for Transport.
Yes.
In fact, the problems were worse before Kipchumba Murkomen became Minister for Transport. And
Are you saying because he didn't fly KQ, then he should not have gone to America?
I am saying
I'm hearing
that there are many other presidents who've done visits to other countries by not hiring foreign jets.
I'm hearing you saying that this was not the right time to do a state visit.
I'm sure even
Or he could
Tanzania,
have used a cheaper option.
I'm sure even our neighbors Tanzania would have been happy to lease us a jet anyway. This is calculations I have done for people. I have always said this. A
Fanya Mambo.
Boeing 737.
No,
Let's just get to the figures.
Because I heard you say that this was not the right time to do the state visit. Are you saying that it was the visit itself was a problem, or is it the mode? What is the issue?
The cost was the problem.
The cost, the 10 million.
No, it was taxpayers' money.
Yeah, the 10 million taxpayers' money.
No, it's not 10 million.
How much is it?
Initially, they had said there's 200 million. The problem is we have an administration that even confuses us.
Who said it's 200?
Every day we have something new from the same government. And I will not be surprised if tomorrow they
Who
change
said
and
it's
say
200
it was
million?
5 million.
Who said it was 200
Well,
million?
first, you see, I'm an ardent follower of news locally and internationally. And if you remember, on international news, on almost every other channel, it was aired that the president spent $1.5 million on his trip to the United States. And that's the cost of that jet. And any other person who has access to a mobile phone can Google how much it costs to lease that jet. That is what it was coming to. The next step was the United States government disowned and said we did not finance this trip. So now the onus was on the Kenyan administration to tell us.
No, excuse me. No, they did not. It's not they didn't finance the trip. We were talking about the aeroplane, and that's what required clarity.
The rate.
Yes. They said, this plane you're talking about, us. We did not. We
It
didn't
was
pay
not
for,
us
no,
who
no,
did
it was
this.
not us who paid for this. That particular trip to America, let me start again. It was by invitation now. You do your homework and find out when there's a state visit and you're invited, that host country, in this case America, what do they actually fund? Do you know what they fund? Or do you know what they don't fund? Now, to understand that is what would now make for a good argument or a good discussion. So we know we are not paying for everything. So then the question is, so what were we paying for?
Well, they were definitely not paying for the transport.
No. I'm asking the question, so what were we paying for and what were we not paying for? Because there are things we were not paying for.
I made it very simple, and I told Kenyans, a Boeing 737, which is what used, has 162 seats maximum. If it is loaded maximum.
This one is not
a normal passenger one.
This is not a normal passenger plane.
No, I'm just saying. Let me make it easy for you. Let me make it easy for you. So if today you wanted to fly to the US one way right now and you book a ticket, it's about 120. 120,000 times.
During which season? Because the
No,
fares
if you
are
book
never
right
the
now.
same.
No, I'm
Business.
just saying just now because this is the season for the trip. The total, if you do the math, it will be about 20 million hiring the whole Boeing 7037 of KQ to the United States. So if they had taken the whole of it and just carried the 32 passengers if they wanted, it would not have cost us more than 20 million one way. That's the simple maths.
Are you saying that what you're saying here, if I can help you, is that there could have been a cheaper option that was taken that should have been used? It didn't matter that you had friends or whatever, that a cheaper option could have been used to get to the US for the state
And
visit?
those cheaper options have always been there.
Okay.
Yes. They've always been there.
In light of austerity measures and where the country is at this point.
Austerity measures are for you and others, not for government. Government is not doing austerity measures. Look at the number of new vehicles they have bought, large V8s. In fact, the National Prayer Breakfast was like a display of those new vehicles. 32 million, 30 million.
I think those vehicles are many.
I mean, it's like they are for free and they are so expensive. You sometimes look at the prices online and you're bewildered.
Does the government pay duty on these cars? Because if they don't pay duties, they're not that expensive. I'm just asking, guys. It's true.
Still, to the taxpayer who is not able to fix 3 decent meals a day, it's a problem.
I'm in agreement with you there.
Yeah.
Absolute agreement. In fact, I was of the view early on in the morning that this fanfare we had in Bungoma should not have taken the place, the manner in which it did. Because that vulgar display of wealth and pomp flies in the face of everything that is good in this country. Because when you look at people, as you say, who can't even afford a meal, people who don't even know where they're going to spend the night, no, that doesn't balance out. No, it doesn't.
Fanya Mambo naona umejam sana. We had some guys here from Ken Beef by Ken Chick. Yeah. And, we're talking about now they're going into meat. And so we'd like them to. Ednah, iko nyama? Yeah, watch out. Letea Fanya Mambo kitu.
Shukishe pressure bwana.
Mimi sina
Hii ndege imemletea Fanya Mambo mingi sana bwana.
Mletee sausage ya beef. Yes, she's cooling it.
At least the good thing is, one, I'm not a public officer.
So that you know, this is a free gift.
So I can accept gifts because I'm not a public. And then there's no sausage worth more than 20,000 anyway. So I don't need to declare.
Where is it, Ednah? Wametelewa? We forget about them, these guys.
They've gone again.
Who knows where they are, man? We want this beef. Anyway, Fanya Mambo.
Yes.
As we look at what's happening in the country right now and everything, what do you think that Kenyans ought to be keeping their eye completely on? not get sidetracked by whatever reason, but just keep their eye on something.
Only one thing, the finance bill. Number one, any person who campaigns for the finance bill is a public enemy. Any person who does not decampaign it. So it's not just campaigning it. If you campaign for it, you are an enemy of the public. If you do not decampaign the finance bill in its shape and form, unless it is adjusted completely and thoroughly, you are an enemy of the public. Any person who will pass that bill, any person who will go to parliament and pass that bill is an enemy of the public. Anyone who will abscond the voting on that day for that bill, hata huyo ni adui ya wananchi. Anyone who will celebrate in any way, shape or form, even if we see you smiling because it passed, you're an enemy of the public. And anyone who will not be sad in case it passes is also an enemy of the public, because you're supposed to be sad if it passes. And finally, anyone who will not join us in celebrating it in case it fails is also an enemy of the public. That is what Kenyans need to keep their eyes on.
All right.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.